Meat City, baby.
Oh, sweet. Another opportunity to earn a free premium tank. After just finishing the monster ones like an hour ago, I was just saying to myself, man, it'd be great if I could grind through and earn another free tank. Well, let's see what you gotta do to get this one. Oh, well, it's based on damage. That's good. Better than having to be based on kills. No requirement for a winning game. Different levels of rewards based on your skill and performance. All sounds good. All sounds good. Let's see what the last set of operations looks like. 4 days to complete them instead of 3. That's fantastic. Man, it looks like Wargaming got everything right with this one. Oh, wait. November 25th to the 28th. Well, it's a good thing there's nothing going on at that time for people that would cause them to be on vacation or away or spending time with family or... Oh, wait. Gobble gobble, Wargaming. Gobble gobble. Hello and welcome back to Meat City Gaming. JD here with another episode of Battle Bites here in World of Tanks on the console version. And yes, a little bit of tongue-in-cheek there. Definitely some good news and some bad news coming out of the Boilermaker operation. So this is, yes, once again, another opportunity to earn a free premium tank, which is always a good thing. I bust a little bit there at the beginning on having another one of these so soon after the monster hunter completion. We had about 2-3 weeks in there maybe to recover, and I can certainly speak for myself, and I think some other people based on what I've been reading. It would be nice to space these out a little bit more, mix an on track in there, heck, mix 2 on tracks in there in between these premium grinds, because if they're there, the dedicated players are gonna go get them, but it gets a little bit monotonous to have to go through these, and the fact that they're all time gated just kind of prolongs the grind and the pain a little bit. So thankful for the opportunity to earn premium tanks, always a good thing. But if we can start to space these out a little bit more in the future, that would really be appreciated. But what's this tank all about? It is the Boilermaker. So this is another of the tanks featured in the Dark Horse comic series, and it's based on the Sherman Firefly. So it's a British, I believe it's a tier 6 medium tank, and a lot of people kind of love the Firefly. They were waiting for it to come out for sure. If I'm going to be driving a tier 6 British medium tank, there's certainly one other one I could think of driving that I might prefer over the Firefly, but maybe that's just me. Anyway, it looks like it's going to be a pretty good tank for tier 6. We'll get into the stats in a little bit. What I want to do at first here is go through the operation and how it's set up, how to progress through it, some thoughts on that. Then I'll do a quick overview of the statistics of the Firefly, and then I'll wrap up at the end of the video with a estimate. I'll have a chart put together based on a bunch of different play styles or performances, and you can kind of find the slot that best fits your performance, and then you'll be able to use the chart to estimate how many games and how much time you'll have to invest to complete the entire operation chain, and also to complete the last operation in the chain, which is the one that's most time sensitive. So I'll have annotations in the video or links in the description that will jump to the different sections of the video so you can get to what you want to get to. But other than that, let's get into the event. So this is the event to earn the Boilermaker, and we can see that, yes, the good news is this is based on damage and not on kills. So no worries about people holding their shot or having a good game but not getting rewarded for it. This is damage. So if you're doing damage, you'll be rewarded for it. There is no assistance damage, so keep that in mind. But I can say after just being 2 days into this event, I have already seen more people leaving cap circles than I've ever seen playing World of Tanks. It's kind of awesome. Usually if you're in a game and the score is, 11-7, you're up 4 tanks, you have the game in hand pretty well. If you've got 1 or 2 tanks in the cap circle, they're going to cap out the game. There's nothing you can do about it, which is fine. But this operation and the damage is causing people to leave the circle and go hunting for more tanks, which is great. I'm really excited about how it's kind of had an impact on the game. I'm hoping Wargaming is seeing that, and I'm hoping that's consistent in your play style as well. And maybe there's a way to incentivize this and incentivize the players to continue to play this way. Because to me, it's way more fun to have a battle play out, finish off the enemies, than it's 7-7 and everyone's like, well, It's 7-7. I could go hunt for more tanks, or I could sit in a circle and try to cap out an early win. So that's been my experience. It's been a positive one. But as you can see here, there are tiers of rewards for the damage that you deal. If you can at least place in the top 5, you're going to get a point. So 4th or 5th place in terms of damage gets you 1 point for the battle, win or lose. To place in the 2nd or 3rd damage on your team, then you get 3 points. And if you're the top damage dealer on your team, you get 5 points. This is an awesome setup. It makes the low bar easy enough for a lot of players to get access to, and it makes the high bar, high reward for those players who are really good, that they can progress even faster and use their skill and be rewarded for their skill. So I can't say enough good things about this choice of hurdle to go through to get the tank. I love this choice. This is fantastic. I can't think of a better way to do it. So really excited about that. There is an unleashed series of operations if you buy the Boilermaker. Of course, if you buy it, you also get a last stand perk, which I think improves the performance of the tank when it's at 10% or less hit points. But that only comes from buying the tank. If you earn the tank, which is what we're covering today, you do not get that premium skill. So we can see that once again, the missions are time locked. So we started on November 11th, and that's Boilermaker 1, and you just need to get 45 points to progress to the 2nd operation in the chain, and that unlocks on November 14th, and then you need 55 points, and you can see we step through here. Op 3 starts on November 18th, 65 points, 80 points for number 4, that starts on November 21st, and then the last link in the chain, Boilermaker number 5, is November 25th to the 28th, and you do get all of the 28th, so you do get 4 full days to complete this. You need 95 points. So that's pretty good, guys, as far as how the setup goes. I know the time lock thing still is a pain in the butt, and I don't really like that as well. I wish there were ways to kind of reduce that or get around it a little bit, but that's the route that they've gone with. They're kind of sticking with it. We're not going to be able to talk them out of it. But again, in terms of setup, I think this is as good as it can be. And if you want a premium tank, if you kind of stayed away from some of the other ones because of time restraints and other things, and maybe skill restraints is the right thing. If you weren't able to get the kills in winning battles, you weren't able to get the amount of XP required, this one seems pretty doable for most players. There's going to be a couple that won't be able to do it, and there's going to be some people that are away because of the choice of completing the last part of the event on a holiday weekend. I get all that. I get your frustrations there. But in terms of the skill needed, it's not too bad for this one. So I think if you're thinking about it and you have the time available, go get it, and hopefully the chart at the end will help you gauge the amount of time that you'll need. So next we're going to rotate into taking a quick look at the tank and its statistics. So here is the Boilermaker, and we can see it has a very distinct visual model that includes tracks all over this thing. I believe they'll act as some very thin spaced armor in the game for whatever minor advantage that may provide to you, especially if people are firing either HE or heat. It'll certainly help. But we can see it is a tier 6 British medium tank and 750 hit points. The engine power 500 horsepower. So it's gonna go, but it's not quick. It's not a Cromwell. It's a Firefly. It's a little bit more sluggish, a little bit more plodding of a tank. 36 kilometers per hour is the top speed. Again, that's fair for a tier 6 medium, but if you play a Cromwell and you don't have the Firefly and you're not sure what to expect much slower, expect much less mobile. Traverse speed 40, which is pretty good. Turret traverse 39 is fine. And you can see the armor, it's not great. 51 at the front, 76 on the turret. And the front of the hull, it's pretty well sloped, but it's not great. This thing, it's kind of weird. It's not going to be tanking a lot of hits from anything that's equal or higher tiered. Maybe, some low tiers at the front, it'll bounce, but mostly it's going to just be relying on its gun. And the gun does seem to be pretty good. It's got the 17 pounder, has plenty of ammunition. You can see the average damage there and penetration. Pretty good for the tank. I think you'll be able to rely on the gun for most enemies that you're shooting at. Of course, 2 tiers higher, this thing does see up to tier 8. It does not have premium matchmaking, so if you're seeing a tier 8 tank from the front, you might have some trouble, of course, going through it. The premium rounds should help out there, but all around, it's just a solid medium tank. You can see the silver and XP bonuses are, it's kind of a standard 30% each is kind of the split the baby half and half. If a tank doesn't excel greatly at either silver or XP, 30-30 seems to be about the split that you get. So again, for a tier 6, that's going to be useful. If you don't have a premium, especially if you don't have a British premium, this is going to be a good one to grab because it will train your crew, earn extra silver, and it should be just a nice all-around tank that you should get for not too much effort, as we'll see now as we switch into the estimated chart for the number of games and amount of time to complete the operations and earn this tank. Okay, so here we have the chart, and your first thought is probably, whoa, how the heck do I read that thing? And that looks like a lot of information. And your second thought is, wow, that must have taken a lot of time. I really appreciate all the work that JD put into this for me. Well, of course, you're welcome. No problem at all. Your views are more than enough compensation. Also, leave a note and let me know how much you appreciate this. It makes me feel good. Anyway, getting into how you interpret the chart, right? There's two ways to go about this. What I did is I put across the top 2 rows are kind of how you gauge your performance, how you find your position on this chart. So the second row in purple there, average points per game. If you've played through the last 2 days, or by the time you're reading this video, you've played through a number of days in these operations and you've gotten a feel for how many points you're earning per average in a battle, you can go right to there. If you know you're putting in between 1 and 3 a game, usually it's a split, you're getting about 2 points a game, you can go to the 2-point column. The other top row is just kind of an example of what it takes to get to those point totals. So for example, the easy option is to get a 5-point per game average. You would need to place first in terms of damage dealt on your team every single battle. So yes, if you're the Super Unicum, you're getting first place every time, you're getting 5 points a battle, you can go right to the far right column and you can earn this tank very quickly and laugh at the rest of us as you wrap it up very quickly and everyone else toils through it. On the other hand, to the far left, that's kind of the lowest that I would go here. If you crack 4th or 5th place half the time, and half the time you're below 5th place, 6th to 15th, you're earning half a point per game, and you can see the time requirements get up there pretty quickly. So any worse than that, and it's going to be a real drag trying to get this tank. So be cautious in terms of if that's where you're at. Know that the time requirement is just going to be huge, and if you don't have that time available, don't waste your time getting close but not being able to complete it. So once you find your position on the chart, the vertical column that you fit into, either based on the percentage of time you're placing in those positions or based on your average points per game, the rest of the chart is pretty simple. I have first the games and hours required to reach 340 points, which is the total for the entire operation chain, starting at operation 1, going all the way through operation 5. That's the amount of points, the amount of games first, and then the amount of points, hours below that to complete that number of games. And so you can see again, the easy one is the far right column. If you're earning 5 points per game, it'll take 68 games to reach 340 points. And then I averaged a 7-minute per battle time. So it's just under 8 hours to complete the entire chain if you're the person who gets first place in terms of team damage every single game. And then you work back from there. Then what I did is put below that just the games and hours to reach 95 points, because that's the requirement for the last chain in the operation. That last 4 days, that's the most time intense crunch. So that's where you may also want to be factoring in your time. You can kind of take your time up through the first 4, but then you only have those last 4 days. So that breakdown might also be important to you. You can see if you're the person who's earning half a point per game, the far left column, you're going to need 190 games on average to reach those 95 points, and that could take you over 22 hours. In 4 days of playing time, you'll need to spend 22 hours playing the game in order to grind this out. And the 7 minutes per battle, that includes not just the battle time, but also any time that you spend down, getting a drink, going to the bathroom, the matchmaking to get into the battle, the countdown in the battle. Some games are going to be much shorter than that. You could have a 2-3 minute game where you get killed and taken out, but maybe you still get a point. You could have some that go the full distance. That's based on my experience. Obviously, if you play a lot of tier 10 games that are very competitive, your average battle time may be higher. If you're playing your tier 3s and you're just blitzing, you could get that average battle time down, maybe to 4 minutes. and you can adjust the math accordingly. So there it is. Hopefully that helps. Hopefully you can kind of figure out your place on the chart, and then from there you'll be able to use what I put up on the screen in terms of the math and the information to plan your time accordingly, and hopefully so you can acquire the Boilermaker. I'm going to wrap up just with a couple of thoughts on ways that you can improve your performance. Again, you purples out there, you don't need this, but anybody who's kind of at the lower end who's thinking, man, I don't know, my stats aren't really great, I don't know if I have what it takes to, in terms of the time to get there and to get this done. Well, be smart about your tank selection. Know that what counts is damage. So think about your tank selection. A light tank that you're really great at spotting and getting assistance damage might not be the optimal choice, because assistance does nothing for you. If you're the first tank to get into position, you grab that bush and you're spotting, that's great. But the second you fire your gun, you're going to get lit up and then you're going to get destroyed. That might be tough. Now, obviously, there are some light tanks that are great at dealing damage. The Bulldog, for one, and some other ones out there that you might be really good at. By all means, use them if you're strong with them. But think about that. Again, also, heavy tanks. Heavy tanks can be a problem because a lot of the battles in World of Tanks devolve into a rout. They quickly go from 4-2, and in the next minute, they're 10-2, right? So if you're in a heavy tank and you're slow, if your team is winning and winning big, you might be on the wrong side of the map. You might be locked down, the other side breaks through, and they're just sweeping into the enemy base and taking out the tank destroyers and the artillery while you're kind of plodding along. So heavy tanks may be tough. On the other side, if you're getting destroyed, you may not be able to break through to find some softer targets. You may be pinned down by the enemy as they're rushing you. So mediums that have a lot of mobility, like the Cromwell, are great for this, because you can, if it's the battle that's going well, you can get into position and get the cleanup damage. If the battle's going poorly, maybe you can find a break in the lines to poke through and then go after the artillery and the other campers at the back and use your mobility to get a kill or two, and that'll put you into the top 5 damage dealers for your team. So think about tanks that give you the opportunity to get into that top 5 damage dealers, right? This may be the time where you shelve that stock Tiger 2 because it's just not going to get the job done in terms of the damage. Go to the reliable, the tanks you know, the tanks that are quick, mobile, have a good gun, can accurately and quickly pump out that damage. And other than that, good luck, have fun. Hopefully this provided some guidance for you, some level of confidence in yourself based on the chart, where you're falling on the chart, that you'll have the chance to kind of pursue the Boilermaker, especially if you haven't gotten any of the premiums that you've been able to earn before. I really think this is the best opportunity to do it. Again, unfortunate if you're going to be out of town due to the holiday coming up, but anybody that's around that's thinking this might be the one for them, go for it. I really do think it's going to be the best chance in terms of setting a nice lower bar that anybody can make progress at, as long as they're putting some effort into the game, and shouldn't take too much effort for most people to be able to earn the Boilermaker tank. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please feel free to like and favorite. And as always, feel free to subscribe to Meat City Gaming for all your future World of Tanks console content needs. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you next time.